Such a big area of the work that we do is if people aren't in a good place themselves, we can't do a lot of the tactical work, right? If they haven't got mental capacity, if they're not operating from a place of feeling good and healthy and safe, we can't make good decisions. We can't, move pieces around and tackle stuff. My aim in that is to identify like the 3 things we need to work on in what order. So first we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. And I said to her, the very first thing we need to work on is your capacity. Because as we talked it through, I was totting up and she was telling me she basically had about 55 hours of planned work a week that she was covering. But she'd also told me that she had about 35 hours capacity for work a week.
Spot the problem. Yeah.
And again, she'd never sat down and thought, we just don't stop and look at it. And as soon as she saw it reflected back, she said, of course I can't. Of course I feel terrible and I can't do everything and I'm working weekends.
Hello and welcome to the Business Growth Show.
I'm John from Octopus Computers.
And I'm Adam from Active Internet Marketing.
This is the show where we sit down with business owners, founders and entrepreneurs from Stamford and the Greater Rutland area.
We discuss their journey, look at their wins and their challenges and get practical advice that you can apply.
New episodes come out fortnightly, so if you want to stay up to date, drop us a follow or subscribe wherever you're listening.
Welcome to the Business Growth Show, Thea Brook. If you'd like to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
So I, by background, am a CFO. I spent about 10 years working in finance for high growth startups. Everything from smaller businesses up to scaling into the tens of the millions. So quite a wide range there. But I also always had a very entrepreneurial side to myself. I think I was always destined to be in business because I was that kid that, your dad dishes out jobs and says it's like 20p for this or whatever. My sisters would do it and get bored within 10 minutes or so, and I'd still be there at 5 o'clock. I'd organise the systems and I'd be making my money and they'd have to tell me to stop. And actually, when I was 20, I opened a dance school. So that was, I got straight into it really. And then somehow, and this is a weird thing about me, I've got this creative side. So,
working in finance.
Yeah, exactly. So from sort of dance and music into working in finance. I got a job on the side doing admin and that led to a bit of finance admin and then realised I was good at that. I was actually near here. That was in the Peterborough area.
Right.
And the company was headquartered in London. Said, we actually have an opening for a finance role in London. I was 19, like 19, 20. I thought, I'll go move to London. So that led me down the finance path. But then I came back around to entrepreneurship about 15 years ago. So long story that we may or may not get into, but accidentally opened a restaurant. That turned into multiple restaurants. So that was my next business. And then we actually ended up taking the brand from the restaurant business and launching a product range, which we sold via like D2C online and through retail.
Fantastic.
So that was quite a beast of a business. So now what I do after I came out of that business, I wanted things to be a bit more simple. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to bring together everything I'd done. I had this quite unusual mix of having sat in the CFO role and been in a very structured position, around how to build businesses, but then also having sat in the founder seat and done all of the hard work from the ground up. And so I spent the last about 3 years to begin with really just like researching how can I use this? What do people need? So working with a lot of businesses and a lot of founders. And it's evolved into what I do now. So I recently launched everything under I guess now a structured container. It's called Calm. There's 4 of us. So I cover business strategy plus everything really, the broad range, having done it all myself. But I have a head of finance, a head of marketing and head of people and ops. And we effectively act as like a plug-in strategic leadership team to businesses scaling between about 200,000 or 300,000 up to 1 to 2 million.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's effectively something I really needed when I was building through those phases with my businesses. You've got it to that point by yourself, very scrappily usually, and then you're not at the point where you can hire in people at that other senior level to bounce off. And there's all the complexity building up in the business, and you need those brains, but you don't have the budget for it until you hit about that 2 million plus point when you start to bring people in. So it's a really tricky time, and that's what we do. We're effectively like an affordable way for businesses to tap into that level of expertise and scale a lot easier, make a lot more money, feel a lot better about it, all the good things.
What does that normally look like for one of your clients? Are you there a couple of days a week, a day a week? Do you bring your colleagues in for similar structure depending on what their needs are? How does it normally look, or is it different every time?
It is. I mean, it's definitely different depending on what a business needs, but really we try and be very flexible, and we almost say like on tap.
Right.
So we have it structured in the first couple of months. We work quite hands-on with a business because we're doing our first stage is really assessing what's going on in the business. So what's happening at that point, that let's say 200,000 to 300,000, there's so much good stuff in the business. But the founder's so busy, and typically it's them plus some doers, more operational level people.
Yeah,
and the founder's so busy and they're sitting on so much gold that they're not actually leveraging. So we do quite a lot of upfront work to really look at the business and understand where's the good stuff, what should we be stripping back to, actually doing a bit less but better rather than keep adding more stuff. And then we get a really structured plan together. We figure out where it is they actually want to get to, which actually a lot of them have become quite disconnected from at that point. Right. You end up following the next thing and the next thing and the next thing just to get that early stage of the business off the ground. Exactly, yeah. And it's amazing how I ask most founders, right, what do you actually want to build? What do you want this to look like? What do you want life to look like? How long do you want to be in it? How do you want your days to be structured? And they really, it throws them because they think, oh, hang on a second, what do I actually want? Do I still want the vision of it that I started with, or, what's changed? So we tie those two pieces up and go, okay, well, now we've figured out what you want. This is where you're at. This is where the good stuff is. Let's leverage it through this scale pathway. And so we build out usually start with a 90-day roadmap and then come back to it every quarter. And then we work in rhythms. So we do these quarterly planning sessions where we make sure everything's lined up and on the right track. And then monthly, they have sessions with each of the heads of the discipline. So we're doing mid-month, we do the numbers check-in because we should have the accounts. And again, it's an area most people are not very comfortable. Like they probably look at what's in the bank and how much revenue have we made today, this hour. It's really tracked. But actually, pulling up a P&L and looking at the whole business and looking at a forecast going forwards, most people are quite uncomfortable with that and ignoring it to an extent. So we do that monthly. Then we look at the whole sales and marketing funnel monthly, to say what's working, where are the gaps, what can we strengthen, what do we focus on for the next month. And then same with people and ops. And then weekly, they have sessions with me. So that's really covered. A lot of the work I do is thinking broadly and strategically about the business, and also really looking at the founder's health and well-being.
Right.
That's just such a big area of the work that we do is if people aren't in a good place themselves, we can't do a lot of the tactical work, right? If they haven't got mental capacity, if they're not operating from a place of feeling good and healthy and safe, we can't make good decisions. We can't move pieces around and tackle stuff. So I do a lot of that work as well. And then daily as well, in between all of those sessions, everything runs on a platform where they have access to us just to say, I've done this, can you look at it? Or I've hit this problem with a team member. I had one last week, somebody saying, I need talking down from firing somebody. Those kind of things that come up.
It sounds really unique, I think.
Yeah.
And very appealing, I'm sure, to a lot of people.
That's great to hear. I have obsessed over what we build over the last 2 or 3 months, I have to say. I think having been through the cycle myself a few times as well, I really wanted to be led by what people need with this. So that's why I spent so long really, I call it it was almost like R&D. Yes, I was working and I was earning and I was, had all these contracts with different businesses. But for me, that was all about data gathering and putting the pieces together and testing what they need, in what structure, what really works. So really, really happy with how it's looking so far.
I think it's the right revenue. It sounds like you'll know, obviously, the right revenue bits. I think the 0 to 100K is really hard because you've got to hustle and grind your way up to it. Yeah. And then from there, people broadly speaking, stagnate around 250K because they've maybe got one or two staff members and it's a bit of a tick over lifestyle thing forevermore. What is usually a lot of the gaps that people have that stop them from pushing up to 500 million, 2 mil? Are there any common factors we see actually they're just not focusing on this point in particular?
Yeah, there's a few. Okay, let's
obviously
prioritize.
and not just everything you do, but
yeah. So really, one of the main ones that people have at that point is it's not really that they don't know how to take the business to the next level. Like if you talk to people at that level, they're in their business daily. They're getting the data, whether it's structured or not. They're getting the signals back around right what's working, and they have all the ideas, but they've built the business to that point has built up around them. They are the core of it. So I think, if you think of it, if we drew it on a piece of paper, you've got the founder in the middle and then all the functions that happen in the business, and they pretty much all in some way run through that person.
Yeah.
So naturally, and even if you add team members, often those team members still need to go back to you for stuff, or you're keeping an eye on it, and things are changing and evolving. So naturally, just, law of physics says you hit a bottleneck, right? You can't use that person anymore. So part of our early work is really looking at, well, what is it that's making that work, and how do we get it to run without going through you? So, is that about different systems, different people, or just sometimes just little tweaks to the system? So ideally what we're trying to do is move the founder out to above the system. So we always say, like, systems should run the business, you run the systems, which is not the case that we find them in.
Often there's no system. So.
Yeah. And then that just allows you to scale beyond that point because it's not limited by that person's capacity and bandwidth.
That's really cool. Have you got an awesome case study or example you can tell us, or success story? Because I'm sure there were a few. I don't know if you can share them. That's the challenge.
No, I can actually. So actually on Friday, I filmed a case study with one of our founders. Cool. And we talked through it, and I said, we'll probably need 15 minutes. We'll just chat through it. And an hour later, we were still on the phone talking about it. It was amazing. She's a brilliant example. And she's a really good example, actually, of really committing into the work as well. So one of the things I learned through this couple of years is we just won't start working with a founder if we don't think they're really in the right mindset to commit into it, because it's hard work, right? One of the first things is we get founders to, like, pause is probably the best word, because we're all coming at it from we need to see what's here. We need to really look at the business, need to look at the pieces, and then we'll know which ones, where the levers are, what we can pull. A founder who's just hustled their way up to 6 figures, they've done that by just being on and, moving. They feel good when they're taking action, and like we all do, right? I'm the same. We feel good when we're like, I can see the thing and I can work on the thing and I can do it, and I can then add this other piece and figure this piece out, and that's our MO. Even though it feels like that's hard, it's actually easy for us because it's natural.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Whereas what's not natural is saying to a founder, you're going to actually just pause for a second, and everything like starts ringing alarm bells for them around it. So Hannah came in work, and Hannah was like, she runs a sales agency. So just to give context, runs a sales agency, and she'd actually been building businesses for about 18 years. It's pretty much all she'd done in various different types of businesses. So, been around the block a lot, but she tried previously one business model where she was hiring other salespeople and trying to expand basically the service, and just had a terrible time with it. Didn't get the right people in, or just, felt like that doesn't really work as a model. It doesn't work for me for a number of reasons. Didn't make her money. So then she had a couple of other products that she was working on. So when we first met, she had about 3 different ways her time and her brain were being split around, like, trying to grow the business and where to look. She was working so much. Again, this is classic of what we see. Everything had slipped down the priorities list in terms of, like, going to the gym, cooking, good food for herself, and feeding herself well, and getting rest, working too much. And she really was quite burnt out. She said herself, even like, she really openly talks about it. She said she was like feeling almost like numb. She was getting up, going through the motions, not really being out, being out with a friend, and there's almost like an invisible wall between you and them. And I've been there. I burnt out in one of my prior businesses. It's a horrible place to be. So what we did, the first session I always do, I actually now do it as a standalone session. It used to be the first stage of working with us, but now anybody can access it as a one-off session, which is really good. But we effectively do like a full business assessment. So we looked at every area of her business. She filled in a load of information before, and then I looked at it, and then we talked it through. And my aim in that is to identify like the 3 things we need to work on in what order. So first we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. And I said to her, the very first thing we need to work on is your capacity. Because as we talked it through, I was totting up, and she was telling me she basically had about 55 hours of planned work a week that she was covering, but she'd also told me that she had about 35 hours capacity for work a week.
Spot the problem. Right. Yeah.
And again, she'd never sat down and thought, we just don't stop and look at it. And I mean, as soon as she saw it reflected back, she said, of course I can't. Of course I feel terrible, and I can't do everything, and I'm working weekends and all and that's only the planned work, right? Because we try and get everybody to only plan out 80% of their capacity, because the reality is that things are going to come up last minute and life's going to happen, and that's never your actual hours, right, at the end of it. So I said, right, that's the first step. But for me, capacity isn't just how many hours you like, what's on your calendar. It is all that like mental capacity, emotional capacity, or financial capacity as well, like the breathing room in the numbers. So we planned in, like literally the first month of us working is going to be, let's look at what we can reorganise of where things are being done, who's doing them. So we shifted some stuff around within her team, and then got her back down the gym. Got her a co-working space so she wasn't trying to juggle work and home. Yeah. She got back into like eating well, all these kind of things. And it's just a beautiful when, that first month of somebody looking at it. It really is, then, within 3 or 4 weeks, somebody's saying, you can see it in their eyes. They're like coming back to life, and their brain's working again, and they're feeling great. So we did that first. And then we looked at, all of this is a bit in tandem, but we just looked at her business models and said, right, these are the different products you're working on. What actually is it that you want to build? And this, again, she wasn't really clear on what her North Star was in terms of what business she was building. And we realised that part of why she wasn't feeling good is that she wasn't connected to that.
Right.
So she wasn't like driven and motivated, but she was driven and motivated by what she was doing and getting the results, but not like where it was going. So she was like, I'm busy, but I'm almost kind of bumbling and tumbling around rather than moving forward. And that's awful for us as humans, isn't it? Like really, we're just built to move forward all the time. So she wasn't getting that out of it. So we figured that out. Where does she want to go? Then looked at the business models against that and said, okay, well, this is the one that's really going to get you there. And it was the one she'd tried before and not enjoyed. So again, there's that instant like, ugh, but I don't want to go there. But then we broke that down, well, why did that not work out? How did you approach it? What was it that went wrong? And then we built a plan around not doing it the same way. Yeah. And effectively like she didn't really know how to hire and onboard people and manage them and develop them, and at the same time do her lead gen and all the other bits, that are going on. So putting structures around that for her. So, because we have all of that inside the program, you just use the tools and plug it in and like figure out who you're hiring and how you manage them, all that kind of stuff. And now she's loving it. Like she's just loving it. And from Q4 last year to Q1 this year, we have one of the things in our platform is we have all these different chat channels, and one of them is called Ring the Bell. And I saw this message pop up from her, and she said, I've just looked at my end of my Q1 finances. I was expecting to see a small increase, but we've more than doubled revenue. Yeah. And she posted all of her results in, and it's just so nice to see. And I'd also had a message from her to say, I've literally for 2 years I've felt rubbish. Makes me feel a bit emotional.
That's good.
And she said, I just feel I don't feel perfect yet. I don't feel, this is still a journey, but I'm feeling again, and I'm motivated to do things, and I'm back into reading fiction and really enjoying it that I haven't done for ages. And, she's just getting her life back at the same time as building the business.
A huge, clear difference in quite a short period of time.
Such a short period of time. And this is I think it's why I love working with businesses at that stage, because they they always are just sitting on such a gold mine. You know, if you've got a business to multi 6 figures, you are doing something very right, but it's probably hidden under a lot of noise. You know, we go in and we're like,
well, normally, we've always done it that way, or that's how we did it once, so that's now how we sell everything every time.
Yeah, or we tried that and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And so things get lost. But there's so many nuances to it. So the middle phase, we work through 5 pillars when we work with a founder. So capacity is the first one, alignment's the second one, which is really figuring out where they're going. And the third one then is leverage. And that's where we're going in and figuring out where is the leverage in the business. And there's so many nuances in, like, you know, we'll find an example of a client or a project that went really well, produced really good profit for them. They loved doing it. The clients got great results, all the things that tick off a great project. And we'll really get like detailed about breaking that down. And there'll be something in there like, you know, some random decision they made to send an email in the onboarding process that was different, or they had a conversation in person as opposed to an email, or, you know, something tiny that's happened that actually when we figure it out, that's one of the things that set the whole thing up for success, or saved it when it was going off the tracks later down the line or something like that. And we pull all those things out and go, well, that should be standard. Well, let's do that as a standard across every time we do it. So we can start to really manufacture those amazing experiences every time with clients. And there's always so much in there like that. Like, I just love it. I love getting my hands on a new business and being able to find all these little pieces of gold and put them together.
And where's that come from for you? Because that's quite a deep skill to develop. And I wonder if that's a bit of the hospitality piece from the restaurant business you mentioned, because there's so much of that looking for repeatability, or is it a different business you've run? Is it compounded? It's
a really good question. I was talking about it the other day, and I actually think from a young age learning music and dance sounds very disconnected. But actually, it's all about patterns. And, you know, really your brain is learning from a young age to how to, like, put things together and what the impact is. And I would imagine that somehow connects into, like, the mathematical side of my brain that led me into finance. And I just love, you know, I look at anything and I see a puzzle. I'll always be given, like, you know, family events to organise, because I can see how we can, like, put all the pieces together.
Parts.
Yeah, which accommodation's going to tick all the boxes and that kind of thing. But yeah, I love it. I've always had a very interesting combination of, I can work broad across a business, but then if, you know, as we identify an area, go really deep into it, which actually you learn, the more people you work with, the older you get, you realise that most people sit in one camp or the other.
I hope you're enjoying today's episode. Please remember to like, give us a rating, give us a follow and subscribe wherever you're listening if you're enjoying the show.
And I think you mentioned to me previously you're introducing quite a bit of technology into these businesses as well. You've got a lot of knowledge and experience around certain areas within there.
Yeah, it's fascinating at the moment, isn't it? It's just such an interesting time to be building a business on the technology front. So yeah, we've always, again, I've got quite a systems background. So a big chunk of my time as a CFO was in a fintech.
Oh, cool.
So being I was building out the finance team, but because it was a fintech, I naturally got involved quite a lot on the tech and product side as well. And again, that works really nicely for my systems brain. So I've always really understood systems and connecting things in. So we've always worked with founders on what's happening tech-wise. But what's really interesting now in this AI era is it's not, before it was like, we'll look at a process and, you know, does a technology exist? Is there something we can leverage? Is it affordable? All those kind of things. Now you're not only able to do that well, it doesn't matter if a technology exists. We can probably build it to exist
in an afternoon
pretty easily. But you also apply it not just to the systems that are running the business, but also the question about hiring. And in a way, I hate saying this because I do feel like we're, you know, on this precipice of so many people not being able to find jobs. So that aside, we always, when we would do the capacity piece, and actually through various stages of the program, we would be asking the question, okay, who do we need to hire? So, like, there's too much going on. First there'll be stuff we can drop. There'll be stuff that we can automate better, all that kind of stuff. But then probably who do we need to hire? Yeah. That question comes so much further now down the line, because we then go, okay, but what could AI do?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting seeing, like, none of our founders are technical people, you know, that they're not coming at this from like a background in building systems. But it's really interesting seeing them go from, well, I couldn't do that. Like I'm using Claude and I'm asking it questions and I'm getting it to do some research for me, but I couldn't build a system.
That to vibe coding out automation.
Yeah,
is pretty
exactly.
cool. Yeah.
And then we've done a few like open trainings around it just to show people the basics. And then, you know, 2 days later, we're getting like threads in the chat of people going, I've just built out a whole like CRM that's now tracking my sales leads, or I've just done this, or I've just done this. And it's so cool to see people playing with it and getting their head around it.
I think the barriers for entry in it are so much lower than they've ever been before.
Yeah.
That the opportunity for people to embrace machine operations, as I call them, is huge. I still think we're going to have human interface because people buy from people. I don't think that's going to change. But being able to automate out all those processes is going to make such a difference, I think, to lean operations in a business if done the right way.
Yeah, and it is a trick. I think it is a tricky time for people because there's so much you can do. One of the things I really like talk to people about is once you get in there and you start seeing what you can do, your brain's going to go like this.
Yeah.
And then you're going to suddenly realize we could do this and this and this and this and this. And then very quickly you can get very overwhelmed and go down a bit of a rabbit hole. So we always say, pick one thing, like just pick something you already do in the business that you can just think about end to end and properly build it out. Like don't get it so it's like, oh, it's 60% and it's okay, and get excited and then leave it and then do the next one and do the next one, do that, because that's just going to lead you to
You've now got 20 automations and none of them are perfect.
Yeah.
No, we have to have the same conversation of we do it as where are you spending the most time, or what time could you get back? So from my side, I run an IT company, by the way. So from my side, I've automated out all of my emails. I was getting 200 emails a day. It now files them, drafts all the responses, forwards them to the right people. It has no permissions to send, and it sorts them accordingly, tells me what to skip, does the whole lot. So my time doing basic admin, which kills every founder, because we get so many FYIs or, you know, invoices that need acknowledging and forwarding on. It's just fully automated now. Yeah. So my time's back to, well, hopefully doing more stuff like this.
It's
getting
incredible.
people to do it is hard.
Yeah, and I think if you're part of it is just getting to the point where you're capturing everything in. That you can get so many team efficiencies that way. So we have a central, we call it our brain. It's like the second brain, built out in Obsidian. I don't know if that's used. So basically, there's about 8 feeds that automate either daily or weekly into the Obsidian brain. So anywhere where there's activity going on with the team, with clients, or in between ourselves. It's just all coming in, and then it can also automate out updates. So it can constantly tell us, you know, if we know a founder's got X on their, you know, on their roadmap, they really need to nail their cash flow forecast in the next few weeks. If we've been on an open call with them, or if they've posted in the platform to talk about it, then we're just getting these constant updates. Okay, tick, that one's done, or this one's blocked, or they've come back to this conversation 3 times. We might need to step in and look at it. Yeah. And we can also reflect it back to them, because founders are classically, you know, we're all, as business owners, we're terrible at actually appreciating what we've done, how much progress we've made.
Backwards.
You never celebrate, do you?
No, or even acknowledge, right? Like you're always looking at, there's a book I love called The Gap and the Gain.
Okay, right. I don't know that one.
Oh, but honestly, 2 of my favourite, well, I'd say 2 of my favourite writers. It's basically a coach in the States who I think is about 80 now. He's amazing. And he has his books written by somebody else who's an amazing writer, and they're a great duo. Cool. Look them up. Dan Sullivan, Ben Hardy. But the gap, they talk about basically, if you live in the gap, which is between where you are and where you're trying to get to, you're living in negative space all the time. It's you're constantly going, I'm not there yet.
Crushing.
I'm not there. And it's what you're telling your brain, and your brain's operating on, oh, we're not there, we're never there. Whereas if you get yourself operating on the gain, like, oh, we did that, and we did that, and we did that, and we did that, and we did that, like, your brain operates so differently because it's like, yes, we do things, we tackle things, we make stuff happen.
That sounds really interesting.
Positive versus negative, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really helpful. It's amazing. Read the book. That's on your list. Yeah.
Good plug. That's good.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I can do now with our AI brain is we're capturing all of this activity that's going on. So when we do, you know, I say when we have a founder who's having a bad day, but actually we manage to avoid a lot of them because we manage to keep them in that space of, you're not where you want to be yet, but but honestly, you're never going to be where you want to be because you're just going to pick the next mountain. Like, it's like deciding that the horizon is your goal.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a really good way of putting it, actually.
It's just going to keep moving. Whereas if we can say, but like you started here and now you're here and now you're here and now you're here, then they feel like, okay, this is fine. Yeah. I'm still got challenges, but the challenges have changed. We've moved forward.
And your whole outlook changes, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're completely approaching things from a different start point, aren't you? So, yeah, it makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
And with you're looking at back to your business rather than your clients, where are you aiming to take it? Where's your kind of destination that you're hoping for?
Very good question.
That you
I
must
don't
know the answer to, right?
So I know my alignment very well.
Yeah.
Interestingly, so my alignment all comes from being poorly a few years ago, as we were talking about earlier. I say poorly, I had brain hemorrhage 3 years ago. And that actually came after having massive burnout from my previous business. Don't know that it was connected directly. My sisters would probably say otherwise. But that both the combination of those two things really reset me, like completely reset me to zero in terms of, okay, what is it actually that I want to do? How do I want to build? How do I want to live? And I've been very committed ever since to building what I call a life first life.
Yeah.
So I still want to build a business. I still have ambition. None of that goes away. But I'm going to do it around very strict boundaries that I spent quite a lot of time. I went through a lot of the exercises we take founders through around really looking at like what does raise your energy and what lifts your energy, what really brings you joy and connects you in, because that's all the stuff that connects you into your creativity, which enables us to operate at our best as business owners.
Thrive,
and it really changed how I live because, for example, I realized like sitting watching TV is not something that really brings me anything. Like the odd movie I love. But when we looked at it, me and my husband looked at it together and we both felt the same way. And we said, right, well, let's get rid of the TV.
Yeah.
And we made all these like changes that now, people think we've got a slightly unorthodox way of living. Like it took us, I think about 2 years to put a bathroom into our conversion that we're doing. We're converting a chapel. But we put a hot tub in the garden.
Because it brings you more joy, right?
Because one of the things that was on my list that really brings joy is being in hot water in cold air, which, and it is.
Stars, I bet.
Yeah, exactly. In winter, being able to be outside, being able to be out and hear the birds sing and
fantastic.
Sit under the sky. So really, I did quite a lot of work on getting in touch with what is important and how do I want to live. So I've been really strict with my boundaries in building this business. And actually what that's led me to do is I don't plan too far ahead with where the business is going. So I've really enjoyed the last few years of letting the learnings of working with founders lead me into what should this container look like? How do we support people? How does it run? How do we support all of these people without me working too many hours and going back into burnout? So that's why I brought in other people as well. At the moment, I really want to get it to a point where the business can sustain a couple more roles. So now the bit I'm working on is how do I move my role to the place where I really want it? Because I think that, as business owners, we have to carry certain things at certain points in the business. And I'm learning to love them, even though I don't. But that's my short-term goal at the moment is get the business to a point where I'd love a head of growth.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm actually working with a coach at the moment on not hating selling so much.
Yeah.
It's such a key
it's a hard skill to do. To love it.
That's the easy bit.
See, I
love
spent ages
that
doing
bit.
it.
Yeah,
Like
that's
one of
the
my,
easy bit.
do you know what's
affirmations
funny?
about it.
I love it when somebody, so I love talking to brand new people about their business. And if somebody recognises what we do and they want to come and talk to us, I love those conversations.
Yeah, it's a win.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we're already on the same page and we're having a conversation about it. The bit in between of, getting people to realise what we do and are you right fit and could this be for you? So I'm learning to love that more.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I would love to.
Ages for me to get comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
Ages. And I had to really tell myself that I enjoy cold calling now. I love doing it. I have a laugh. There was a time when I was doing it where I felt I had to like put on like a sales persona and do it. And now that I just honestly take the piss and have a laugh, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And broadly speaking, people enjoy my calls because I don't really care if they say no. I just like meeting people and crack on. If it's not for them, so be it. And it takes all the pressure off.
Yeah.
But outside of that, sales was horrible.
Yeah. And I think for so many of us, it does come down to, programming in our brain that talks about, rejection or not wanting to ask for something. Like I'm terrible. One of the things I've identified is I want to give all the value and I'm then not ask for it back.
Yeah.
Which is not very ideal when you're running a business.
It's not how you coach yourself. Yeah.
Well, I'm actually, and I have 2 different coaches at the moment, and I think it's so key. Like, one of the things I think I battled with this for a while as well was like, well, we should know, like, I should know how to do this, right? I've been around business for a long time. I've been building a business for a long time, but you just can't, somebody said to me recently, you can't read the label from inside the jar.
Yeah.
And it's
that's a great way of putting it.
It's that exact thing, right? We need other people reflecting back to us. So
sometimes I think you need constant reminder of things that academically you know as well. Perhaps even a book that's benefited you. You'll always go back and reread it, won't you? Maybe the 3rd and the 4th time. So
absolutely, yeah.
You need that.
Just hearing the messages on repeat.
Yeah, completely.
Having someone hold you to account is huge as well. Or someone just hold your hand and say, don't worry, it is the right direction. It's just going to hurt for a while. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I think we've put the world to rights there, haven't we? Is there any particular things that you would like people to think about, as in for ways they could resonate with you or things that hopefully they would hear and go, oh my God, that's me? Is there a particular message you want people to hear?
So really key to the work we do for getting that more ease of scale into a business, which is where, once we've got a bit of capacity on the founder so that they can actually do the work with us to the way we talk about it is re-engineer the business for scale. All the pieces are there. We've just got to put them in the right places, is that leverage piece that I was talking about. And what we're doing there is we're going in and we're just looking at everything that's happened in the business and identifying, well, there's a lot of busyness here and there's a lot of noise, but which things could actually be put together in a way that will, you will suddenly get that leverage. I use the analogy of, I think it was Archimedes who said, give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum and I can move the world, something like that. I should probably know that guy.
I think this part right.
But it's all about leverage, right? And what we see is that the founders are either trying to push the world by hand or they've got the lever but no fulcrum underneath it. And we just turn around and go, nope, this can be a lot easier to do. And so there's different asset groups that we know every single business is going to have. Really what we're talking about is like the IP. So things like, are they leveraging the client data properly? There's so much in there that would tell us why people work with you, why they stay, what they love about your products and services, what they don't love so much. But we actually haven't really gone and looked at it properly and done an analysis and then put it into use. Another one is the proof. So the test, things like the case studies, the testimonials, and not necessarily just the outcome people got, but sometimes it is those little things around like why we got to that outcome, like why it felt different, why it felt good doing it. So that, and they're always sat there again, they just haven't necessarily been leveraged or they might have been put onto a website page, but not built through things like sales decks and being used as much as they could be used. We can find stuff in the financial data, in like everywhere in the business, basically is going to give us these answers. And that's what I guess, effectively training the business owners as well to have that lens themselves, because it's so key for them going forward before going, oh, I've got this idea, which is probably, I've got this idea. 4 words, probably the most common 4 words to come out of a business owner's mouth. When I was running my restaurant business, the team used to joke that I would constantly be running through going, I've had a genius idea. So I'm as bad as everybody else. But when we get that, I've had this idea moment, we go, okay, great. Let's hear the idea. Now let's go and look at what this is telling us, right? And whether this makes sense right now or whether we've tried it before, like how we approach this. But it's like, let's go and look at what the business is telling us and then make that decision. So I love teaching people how to do that. And I actually have a free workshop that we can share for people to go and do this. And it takes half an hour. I think the thing that bugs me is a lot of the advice at the moment that we hear going out to founders about like how to grow your business. It's leading you to look outside of your business. It's making you think, oh, it's somebody else's framework or somebody else's marketing
Someone else
hack.
has got the magic sauce. So,
someone else knows something I don't. And if I can just find the right one and put it in my business, everything's going to work. And actually what I'm trying to show people is, no, it's in your business. You need to look inside your business. Like that blueprint that's going to scale is not somebody else's blueprint. You have your own. You just need to put the pieces together in the right order. So that's what the workshop shows them is what those pieces could be, how to start finding them, how to start using them.
Excellent. How can people find out more about it? Yeah.
So that is at my website is theabrook.com. And if you go to theabrook.com/workshop, you can grab that for free.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
Is that the best way for people to get in touch with you? How can they find out more? Pretty much there?
Yeah, I'm allergic to social media.
Good. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But I am on LinkedIn.
You've got to be, but yeah.
Yeah. So, and actually I've come to really enjoy being on LinkedIn and building connections there. So yeah, find me on LinkedIn and via the website. Yeah, they're the best two places to find me.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely to chat.
Yeah. That wraps up another episode of the Business Growth Show. Thanks for joining us.
We hope it gave you some ideas or inspiration that you can take away and use in your own business.
Don't forget to drop us a like, a follow, and a rating, and hopefully we'll see you soon for the next episode.